Earlier when I showed you pictures of Transnistria, I told you we'd be going back there to look at some of the schools because I had some pictures of those. That's what we're going to do this week. I actually went to 2 schools. Some of the pictures are from one and some are from the other, but I'm really only going to talk about one as we go through. The one that I'm going to talk about actually had 110 students. 70 of the students live there, some or all of the time, but only 12 of those are real orphans. In the other cases, it's primarily because the parents can't afford to keep them, and when they go to school, they get fed, they get a place to sleep. If both their parents are working, they're supervised. So in over 60 of the cases, over half of the kids come during the week and go home on the weekends. As you can see, this building was built in 1952. The other one I went to was built in the early 60s. The headmaster of the school we're going to be seeing mostly has been there for about 3 years. He actually has a degree in agriculture, which we'll talk a little bit more later. But he's very proud of the fact that over the last 3 years that he's been there, he's been able to get from corporations or from the Transnistrian government almost $300,000 to make some improvements, and we're going to see some of those. This is their daily schedule, and my understanding is it's their schedule 7 days a week. If you look at the left column, you can actually tell what they're doing. You see there's a little bed there at the top. That's when they get up. In the middle of the day, there's another bed there because that's when the younger kids take a nap. If you look over in the 2 columns on the right side, you'll see the Roman numeral 1 to Roman numeral 4. That's 1st to 4th graders. And then the 5th to the 9th. That's as far as the school goes, up to 9th grade. So you'll see the 1st to 4th graders from 1400, which is 2 o'clock, to 3 o'clock, 1500, actually take a nap. And you can see in there when they're eating. But they pretty much get up at 7:30 and are supposed to hit the bed and lights out at 2100, which is 9 o'clock. But if you take a few minutes and look at this, you'll see some interesting stuff on there. They have exercise. You can see he's like flexing his muscles in there, and you can see the couple times they eat. So it's kind of an interesting chart. Even if you can't read it, you can figure out what it's doing. These next few pictures are pictures of the children in their classrooms. So while we're looking at them, I'll tell you a few other things about the school. Once they finish 9th grade, what happens is that the orphans go to a special lyceum, they call it, which is essentially where they'll get vocational training and help to get jobs. The boys will go to a school that teaches the construction trades, and the girls will go to the schools where they will teach them to be seamstresses. As is common over here, about half of the students are native Russian speakers, and half of the students are native Moldovan speakers or Romanian speakers. When I asked the director, the headmaster, if that caused any problems, he said there is no rivalry, we're all family. As I said earlier, the headmaster's degree is in agriculture. And then he liked teaching children, so he went back and got a degree in special education. What that's allowed him to do is here in an orphanage where 60 kids and a number of adults are here 24 hours a day, at least 5 days a week, and some of them 7 days a week, they actually grow much of their own food. He said that the kids do the vegetables, do the potatoes, the adults run the tractors, and because they started doing this, the government actually gave him about 20 acres of land, and they have a little farm there that they actually work. And he sees it as another skill that he's teaching these young people, many of whom's families can't teach them how to take care of themselves, how to grow their own food, and he feels they're doing a service by doing that there. Obviously, it's also saving them money for needing to buy the food. And I think partly because he has a reputation for working hard for the kids and making the kids work, that I think the government and private industry is willing to support him. As you can see, these classrooms aren't bad at all. The science equipment they had was fairly antiquated, but in terms of the basic desks, the walls, I mean, they do a good job of keeping this place up. We were talking to him, he said that they had 5 computers and wanted more, and this is the computer classroom. You can almost sound that out if you can read the Cyrillic, but as you can see, we couldn't really see what was in there because of this fairly imposing lock, and supposedly the person who had the key wasn't available. The next few slides show you how the kids who stay there actually live. This is one of the girls' rooms. Boys and girls are separate, and different age groups are separate. As you can see, as pleasant as they try to make it, you're still in a situation where you're essentially living in a barrack from the time you're 6 to the time you're 15, if you stay there the whole time. And the mattresses and the blankets and the pillowcase and everything were clean, but as you can see, the only padding between you and the wooden slats is about a 2-inch mattress. Each of the children also has a locker like this. It's about twice the size of maybe your normal school locker. You can see how all of their shirts and pants and shoes and everything are neatly folded and put away. And that's virtually everything they would have in the world that's their own. Except in the younger kids' locker room, they had these stuffed animals that were all right by the door. You can kind of almost picture them coming in, dressing for bed, and then grabbing their stuffed animal on the way to their cot. The next 3 pictures of their bathroom facilities, as you'll see, basically they're communal. There really is no privacy whether you're using the toilet or taking a bath. There were 6 toilets lined up, one right next to another like this, and actually there wasn't even a door on the entrance to the bathroom. And this is where they bathe. As you can see, there are 4 spigots there over one tub, and they would just get in there together and bathe. This is the TV. In the TV room behind me, the walls completely lined with couches and comfortable chairs. The reason that all they have is that antenna is that this is Transnistria, we want to remember, and the only station that the government wants them to be able to get is the Transnistrian station. So one way to guarantee that is to only pick it up with that antenna. This is a picture I took out of the window of the TV room, actually, and it's a little bit fuzzy. Some of these pictures weren't actually taken as photographs, but I took about 30 minutes worth of video, and then I just screen captured some of them for some of these slides. You can see out there where some of the ground has been prepared. This is all their land. This is where they farm. And in the foreground there in the front, you can see some of the playground equipment that we're going to see again in a minute. Some of their playground equipment. In the back, you can actually see the tires are lining off a soccer field, or a football field as they would call it. That whole pen, I don't know if you can tell, but that whole pen and area there is filled with bicycles. Apparently they encourage them both for exercise and to learn to get around, and they help most of them get bicycles when they get old enough to ride them. The whole place is heated by a hot water system, which is fairly common. This is the old boiler that they were using until 3 years ago. When the new headmaster came on, it wasn't working. It was out half the time. The kids would be cold without heat. And so he went out and talked to a German company who was trying to do some business with the government and got them to donate the new boiler, which you'll see in the next slide. As you can see, definitely a step up. This actually produces hot water on a regular basis, and this is one of the things that the headmaster was rightfully very proud of. With over 110 students there, they obviously have sick kids on a regular basis, so they do have a little building there that's essentially a hospital, has a very antiquated clinic in it, and then it has a couple wards where they put people. This is the measles ward. Apparently, they pretty much constantly have 3 or 4 children that have measles, and they keep passing it around and passing it to the new young ones, because once you've had it, you're not supposed to be able to get it again. As you can see, these are some of the younger kids, but as they come in, they get measles and end up here. I actually think maybe in that last slide are translated measles, any of the infectious diseases like chicken pox and whatnot, because I don't know how you could have that many kids with measles when you have 110 kids. But it does show that they don't really have good immunizations, because you shouldn't have any kids with measles, or very few. Here we actually have what they called lung problems, which concern me a little bit, because over here lung problems can mean anything from simple bronchitis to whooping cough to tuberculosis. And they put them all in this little room together. Once a kid starts coughing, this is where they end up. But I just wanted to end by showing you that kids are kids anywhere. Even orphans in Transnistria, a communist area, still get a big kick out of and have big smiles whenever they get their picture taken.